All right. So my position is, I believe, if I'm doing this correctly, that's a 100% vegan world, meaning humans eating a whole food plant-based diet plus supplements would cause more animal deaths in total than an omnivore diet.
Vegan world, you say now. So basically a world where we don't use animals at all and only consume plant-based foods.
Exactly. So a world where you only consume plant-based foods and supplements that are needed would cause more animal deaths. That's my statement.
Okay, would you say it's relevant for individuals today? Like if you say, like if I eat, if you tell me, for example, either I eat vegan or I eat beef and stuff, would you also say that eating beef causes less deaths?
It would depend. If the beef that you are eating is being fed um, crops that are grown specifically for them, and only that, so no accounting with any other input of feed, then of course you would add the crop deaths plus the animal deaths themselves, which would create more deaths. My argument is if animals would be fed solely or items that we cannot use from the byproducts of crops, that would create less deaths in total.
Okay, but you acknowledge that products like this don't really exist, right?
But they do. That's the thing.
Like like what would you recommend me? I get my protein from soy and wheat and legumes and stuff. What products should I eat instead to reduce deaths?
Either a pasture-raised grass-fed beef or a locally produced farmer that you know it's ethical and doesn't buy any feed from unethical practices.
Also, basically you're saying now that pasture-raised cows also cause less deaths. Because this is,
Yes.
first you said about byproducts and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, but we are talking now about you right now in this time and
Okay,
place.
okay, makes sense.
So that would reduce the number of deaths. Right now, what we could do, I think. Um, but if you would have access to animals that were raised with only leftover of the crop production, then that would not create as many deaths.
Can I screen share with you?
Yeah, go for it, please.
All right, you see this?
I see your Discord. Okay. Yes,
Right,
that's my part of my video.
that's from your video, yes. So
Good.
basically, if you were to feed the cows only on byproducts or air or whatever, let's assume air for the sake of argument,
Yeah.
you say it causes less deaths.
Yes.
But if you would adjust for the calories, actually, for 1 million calories in crops, you need about, there will be about 1.65 crop deaths. Although to get 1 million calories from beef, you would need to kill 1.7 cows. Of course, also the feed, but we assume they only grow on air. So even if they grow on air, it would still cause a little bit more deaths actually.
Can I ask you where you got these 1.65 deaths?
Yeah, I gave you the animal visual study.
Which one? Because I've been checking
I
my
will put
phone.
it on screen.
Thank you.
This one. Did you read that?
Okay. So this study was not performed by a person with good intentions. This is not a non-verifiable study. Basically, it was not approved by any scientific community. It was just uploaded to, I believe it was Google Scholar.
Yeah, but you can look at the mythology. It's all stated down here, and it also cites the sources It
I
cites
looked
peer-reviewed sources, and it also cites what was it? The United States Department of Agriculture.
so all those sources are well and good. The thing is, these numbers have been debunked many times throughout the years, and we can clearly see that this person has made incredible assumptions, such as only assuming like numbers of mice, for example. He did not take into account any small fauna, crop protection, or even other destructions that are not property related.
So do you have any other evidence that shows that there are more deaths going into this? Like something that
Yes.
goes higher on the hierarchy of evidence?
One sec. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see?
Wild animals killed by humans.
So, and this is a pro animal organization, so I believe it can be quite reliable when it comes to animal related deaths. So it's not like a pig farmer or an animal farmer
Mm-hmm.
institution. And you can clearly see that the deaths just on invertebrates alone, like from bees to any other insects, spiders, ants, etc. The number is just, it completely outweighs any other. And this again doesn't count any like crop protection industry that kills mammals or birds. It's just the insects alone.
Yeah, were you talking about insects when you talked about the death count?
Uh, Death count, yeah, that's my. It's a very general
Okay, first of all,
confirmation.
you didn't really send me those sources, so unfortunately I had no time to review it and look at it.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know you were gonna
I
go
did I
for.
did ask you for sources, it's just like
Yeah,
you
you
did
did,
ask
you
me.
did. Look, you don't have to say anything today. We can reschedule this if you'd like to. It's just that what I'm trying to say to you is that that graph that you show me, I didn't think it would be the crux of your argument. One second, let me see if I can find something a bit more clear.
Yeah, also just to be clear, I didn't know we were including insects into this.
Okay.
Uh, do you see my screen still?
Yes.
Because I mean, your picture in the video you show this picture, which would indicate that you talk about. I mean, there's a dead deer, rabbits, and stuff.
Yeah, understandable. Look, I'm not trying to fool you or anything. I don't think I've ever mentioned the existence of just mammals. Um, but I think it's pretty safe assumption that, in terms of if you include insects, then I think it's a fair assumption that a vegan world would kill more animals.
Maybe I did not look into it, but then again,
Okay.
if you tell me,
So,
yeah, I can, you would save, let's say, 100 flies if you exploit one cow. Would anyone think that's reasonable to do?
look, that's now another topic. We can we can try to go that way if you like to. But my argument is really on pure numbers,
Yeah.
no other factors.
Of course, but you showed those pictures in your videos and you didn't even mention the word insects once, I think.
Uh,
Like
Look,
it's a
okay.
bit misleading.
So sure. Look, I'll be happy to reschedule this conversation for another day if you like to, and we'll include the whole information. I don't.
I mean, I'm not too interested in talking about insect deaths
Insect.
versus cow deaths, to be honest. Would you then concede that without the insects, you basically cause less deaths as a vegan?
I don't believe so because logically that cannot happen. Okay.
You shouldn't. Let's talk about this instead. I'm more interested in this discussion.
Okay. So it's very simple. Um, I can talk to like right now. Could the whole world from one like everyone could do what I'm telling you to do right now? But logically, in my mind at least, it sounds plausible. If if all the leftover crops, right? Like you said, if the animals feed from air, even if that number would be slightly higher per 1,000 calories, right? In this case, it was beef, I believe. Um, my problem with that assumption is that it takes away the global accumulation of scraps to produce animal food. And what I mean by that is, let's take it to a hypothetical, and then maybe I can drive my point home. If if we take a completely vegan village, like 100 people are vegan, um, and all of them help with their scraps, whatever left over from their food stuff, feeds a couple of chickens and a couple of pigs. It seems like, let's just say chickens. It seems like if you use that feed to grow chickens and then you harvest their eggs, the number of deaths would be smaller.
Then, if you were to eat crops directly, wait, I have to show you this again. I mean, maybe the beef direct kills from slaughter are rather close to the grain kills, but I mean, for chicken, it's astronomically more. Like you would have to kill so much chickens to get the same amount of
Um,
calories than if you would kill if you would have one crop death.
one second.
Do you see it?
I see. So,
Like it's
my
237 chickens need to be slaughtered for the same for 1,000 calories, and
okay.
this would
I
cause.
understand. I understand what you're saying, but maybe I'm not making myself clear. You okay? Humans eat the food stuff from the crops, right? They are 100% vegan. They're just eating plants. When you eat plants, anywhere from 40 to like 80, sometimes even 90% of the plant itself
This
is not
byproduct.
is byproduct, is not usable. Humans cannot eat it. It's trash. It's you can throw it out basically. If you use that trash to feed to an animal,
Yes, to chickens.
and to chickens, for example, and you don't kill the chickens, you just get their eggs, would that be less kills overall?
And no, as you see, it's 83 chickens that need to be killed to get a million calories from
Look,
eggs.
you are. I want you to step away a little bit from the real world. I'm asking you in a hypothetical scenario. I understand that it's very important not to go too far into a fantasy, but I just want you to follow me on this. Okay, you are part of a village of 100 people or so. You can grow chickens in that village with just like scraps. Basically, you don't have to kill anything at all to feed those chickens. You don't have to even kill the chickens themselves. You can just live their lives and you just harvest the eggs. And once they stop having eggs, you just let them die of old age. The village could feed that chicken without causing any other deaths, and the chickens would give you eggs that would feed you. Well, are you still there?
Yeah, sure, I'm thinking
Okay,
about the
thank you.
hypothetical. Yeah, suppose hypothetically we could do that.
Okay, so hypothetically, a totally vegan world would kill more animals than, in this case, a vegetarian world.
Well, hypothetically, but you also have to think pragmatically here. Because this, do you think we could have a world like this where we,
Look, sure,
in
100%.
our current framework, especially?
Sure, not in the current framework for sure, and I think we agree on that. But uh, you would be able to do this at least for a small amount of the population.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So I can't prove to you right now that an omnivore diet would kill less animals. I would have to research some credible sources.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think you will. It's the case.
look, I'll be happy to, but I'm happy that we agree that at least a vegetarian world would cause less animal deaths, not counting insects, just regular mammals and
Yeah,
birds.
potentially. Like again, I could make the pragmatic argument that if you start viewing those animals as resources, then it's there will be a we live in capitalism. We one farmer provides food and sells it. It's gonna be systemic. If you start viewing those animals as commodities, then it will lead to forms of exploitation that also cause more deaths in the pragmatic sense.
But what if the chicas were part of the community, like under socialism? Like basically everyone will have access to that,
Yeah, sure.
and it would be
This could be some distant reality. Like I would maybe
okay.
envision first the world goes vegan, and then we can start respecting those animals more, and maybe some more sustainable practices like this can come from this. But in the current framework, it would definitely lead to more exploitation, more deaths.
Okay. So I will work on for the next week or so on my arguments to be more specific against the references of that specific study. I just thought that it would be easier to just logically debunk it, and I don't want to put like all these sources that I didn't send to you. It would be pretty unfair of me, and I don't think it's fair to you.
Yeah, basically, it's just for those pragmatic reasons that we in the current framework, if we start seeing those animals as resources, this alone would lead to more exploitation and more deaths.
Okay. Uh, I don't agree with that, but I don't have the source. Or
I
I'm
mean,
sure I
I
have
mean,
the
look at the
sources, but
world.
like,
Do you
yeah,
see anywhere what you say happens?
to the screen that you're sharing right now.
Sorry,
What was the question? Can you repeat it again?
if that, like I'm saying, in the current world, if we start seeing those chickens as resources, it would lead to more deaths and everything, and that's the current reality, right? Like that's what's happening, and that where the hypothetical that you propose basically doesn't exist nowhere in the world.
That's not entirely true. I do believe I can find you the resources that will prove that agricultural farmer will cause more animal deaths, and most of the crops that we use for animals is actually leftovers. Whether or not that will impact the numbers so much that I can prove my point about omnivores, I'm going to have to send you the credible sources so you can have time to read them. If I
Yeah.
show them right to you right now, it's just unfair. You won't have any time to see them.
All right. Can you show you one more thing?
Yes, please.
You said most of the animal feed is byproducts, right?
Uh, it's not directly created for animals.
Yeah. Do you see the graph here?
Yes.
This
So
basically shows what the food is constituted of, and only
mhm,
a fourth of it is byproducts. Like 8% is from. I'm looking at the wrong thing. 90% is crop residues. Oh, and 5% is from our food or whatever other wastes. So a quarter is maybe byproducts.
Okay, so 1 second. Let me see if I can find my graph as well. I think I found it. Just a second, please.
Sure.
Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna share now.
Yes.
And again, you don't have to accept any of the sources I'm giving you right now. You can. I'm gonna send it to you later so you can analyze them. Okay.
Sure.
So this graph from the Sustainable Nutrition Initiative, they use a what was it called? The Delta model. Again, I'm going to send you all of this so you can see how they calculated it. Um, you can see the graph.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can see it clearly, but at least like from the cropland production, only a very small amount is from feed, which goes, of course, to animals and then gives us food. But a lot of the cropland production is harvest byproducts. And yes, a big part of that goes to animals, but a lot of it goes to non-food production, such as oil and ethanol. Um, so the graph that you presented me, again, it's based on mostly wrong information. But again, I will send you all these details, and we can revisit it on a later date.
Hmm.
Okay,
Wait,
so at
wait.
least
Was this your point?
my point is that the graph that you show me regarding how much
Oh, you're
food
basically
by
saying that there are other byproducts that we don't feed to animals, but could feed it to animals.
exact well, not just that, is that the graph that you show me, on that website. The numbers are very, very skewed uh, towards a vegan world, because I don't think it's painting the correct picture of how we actually manage our crop food and how much of it animals actually eat. And my
Uh,
argument is that yes, animals eat a lot of crop food, but if the animals wouldn't be there, it wouldn't matter, because most of that feed uh, has been produced for humans, and it was just not, it was deemed not acceptable for humans. So we wouldn't be able to use it for humans unless you would force them, or we wouldn't be able to use them at all because they're just leftovers.
you're
Exactly.
questioning the numbers from
But
the global
yeah,
livestock
yeah,
environmental assessment model from
yes.
the
You
UN.
not from the website that you were showing me before,
Yeah, it's basically directly from the UN.
but it's
And
not counting for what is fed directly to animals and what's fed um, by dejection of human beings.
yeah, that's true. But what that model also says, the assessment model, is that you can't just feed those animals byproducts. There's a reason they only eat a fourth of their diet as byproducts, because that's not very nutritional. Like what's what is 5% is only food waste from humans, and we don't have more food waste because it will spoil. We can't really get it there. It's only 5%. The the other 14 or 15% are crop residues. That's what you talk about right now, and those are just not nutritionally adequate for the animals. Like I have to go back to the hypothetical you said about the chickens, and actually it wouldn't work because you can't sustain those chickens on those byproducts. It would be unhealthy for them, and probably they would die early and causing deaths.
I don't think you realize how much food is produced and not sold for human purposes. You saying that it's not ideal for chickens, and I believe you sent me a document that mentions that animals are always, or at least mostly, fed with a little bit of crops. Let me see if I can find.
Yeah, the Irish grass-fed beef regulation, basically, it's an official government
Exactly.
document that says even the grass-fed beef cows can be fed with crops, and they probably have to be fed with crops because during the winter and everything, they can't be eating grass. Or in the final periods, usually they get it to fatten up before slaughter.
Exactly. So, and you're telling me that the world doesn't produce enough food byproducts that cannot be used for humans that would be able to feed those animals.
You mean food waste in this case?
Food waste, food byproducts from the beer industry, the oil industry, neglected crops. Like a lot of the crops that are produced are not good for humans either, because they are too, I don't know, green or too unsustainable for humans.
Yeah, there are fodder crops which are only digestible by animals.
No, 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 no. What I'm saying is that if you're a farmer and you produce 1,000 kilos of food, a lot of that food will not be human edible because it's either, not good for humans, but it can be fed to animals.
Yes, but it's not nutritionally adequate, even for the animals. I mean,
Okay. So in the example of corn, for example, about 80% of the plant is wasted. Um, the fibrous material from the corn, the stem, the leaves, the hairs, and the
yeah,
cob
that's
itself,
the
once
that's the crop
shredded,
residue.
exactly, that can be fed to animals, and it would be nutritionally adequate for ruminants.
Not according to the GLEAM report.
That chia would be for, I believe, pigs and chickens only. It's not for ruminants. we can double check. I might be wrong.
Yeah, he hypothetical was still about chickens, by the way. So that wouldn't work.
Are you playing my video?
No. Did you send me something?
No, I'm hearing my own voice. Oh, wait, one second.
It's
I know
gonna
what
be
happened.
on your end.
Yes, it's my end. Trying to find the document. I don't think it was the Irish. It was the other one, right? That said about the crops.
Yeah, do you want me to send it to you again?
One second.
Yeah, I dropped it in Discord.
Yeah, no, this one it's fun. So basically now, um, we are at the point that I have to prove to you that feeding crop residues to cows would cause less animal deaths than creating new crops.
For the beef, you mean?
It's-
Yeah. So if we exclude insect deaths, right? Because your study was talking about insect deaths.
Yes. So we agreed on the non-killing of the chickens and the eggs, but you don't agree with me on the beef production causing less animal deaths, correct?
Not really. I would go. I like to go back on the chicken example because you said if those chickens were only fed with byproducts, but the chickens can't be sustained with that crop residue only.
I'm sorry, chickens can be sustained with crop residue only?
Yeah. Or
I'm
you
sorry,
think
but
they
that's
can?
not true. Yeah, look,
I mean, they have to shit out an egg every day. That's
yeah,
what do you think? How much crop residue they are going to eat?
I'm telling you from experience, from what I've seen. I've seen chickens grow from chick to chickens just by having enough land to graze around and being fed scraps. You wouldn't have to give them any particular feed.
And they would find worms and stuff on the land, no?
Well, yeah, but that's nature.
Yeah, but then again, you need land use again, and land use will also lead to animal deaths. Like you can't talk about crop deaths on one hand, but act like on a pasture and stuff, there is no deaths happening.
Okay, but then we go into another discussion, which is like, are we responsible for wild deaths?
Yeah, not just this, but you need to preserve that. Like the chickens, they have to be on a pasture basically in your hypothetical, right?
Sure, but like, I don't think you. Okay, so I have to deny 100% the claim that animals cannot be fed with just crop byproducts and crop wastage, because that's just not true.
So you're saying even if I keep the chicken in my basement and I just feed it crop residue, and this will work.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Uh,
look,
I mean,
just
clearly crop
just
residue isn't very nutritious, right? Where does all the protein come from?
all I'm asking, man, is okay for the next week, just see how much food, like actual food, do you throw away, either because it goes bad or you couldn't eat it or something like that. Because man, there's a lot of food that it's not eaten, and a lot of food byproducts that animals can eat, from peels to so much more, man. It's crazy. I don't think we're going to be able to proceed without me going into like specific numbers, and then I have to source those, and then I'm going to have to send those to you.
I guess.
Yeah, cool. So let's put a pause on this for now, and then I'll send you the rest of the materials, and we can discuss it again once you feel confident that you can talk about them.
Okay, but basically you would concede that right now if I want to cause the least deaths, I should get my protein from stuff like soy products. Because there is no available alternative that would cause less deaths.
Again, I truly don't believe that's true because of the beef argument that I was saying. But again, I will make a proper calculation and send to you
You mean
by
grass-fed beefs, right?
grass fed, and not just grass fed, even some crops fed beef would be acceptable in our case scenario because it's wasted crops.
Yeah, but there is no beef that's only fed with byproducts. Or
I'm
can you
sorry, there's no beef
recommend
that is
me?
only fed.
Do you have any brand I should get, or it doesn't really exist?
I'm sorry, you want beef that is only fed plant byproduct.
Yeah, you are suggesting that's the solution to cause the least deaths, but I don't really see how I should have access to that.
I'll be honest, I don't think there's one like that either. My argument was for a hypothetical scenario.
Okay, sure. So you do concede that I would cause the least deaths now by being vegan,
No, no, no.
practically.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm telling you that I don't have a brand that only eats byproducts. What I'm telling you is that grass-fed beef causes less death than a vegan world.
And would you assume uh, that grass-fed beef, does only one death occurs from the cow? Would you acknowledge that there are also many more deaths going into that?
Okay, if it's the whole cycle, not counting the crop deaths that were not used for animals, then yes, there's more than one death. I'm not saying that.
Sorry, what? You mean without the crops?
So
If a cow is 100% grass-fed, let's talk about this.
if a cow is 100% grass-fed, there's other associations with the animal husbandry. They still use pesticides, although way less than the crop agriculture, and they have to protect those animals from predators. So I'm sure the death count is higher than one, but it's never as high as the vegan world.
And you say this excluding insects,
Yes, even excluding insects.
but you don't have any source to back this up.
Well,
The only
excluding
thing you showed me
insects.
was with insects, right?
Okay, look, excluding insects, I can definitely try to find you a calculation that's gonna meet your standards. What I'm trying to tell you is that for me, it's like so obvious that it doesn't even need a source, but that's not an argument. So I will find you a source that proves that.
Okay, yeah, would have been good to have the source at hand right now.
Yeah, look, I don't have it right with me right now. At least it would take me a while to find it. I'll happily try to find it today and send it to you even today.
And you do acknowledge that the pasture-raised cows, those are extremely land inefficient, right?
You mean that they occupy more land than crops?
Yeah, easily per calorie.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's land that you cannot use for crops anyway, so might as well grow something there.
No, no. What do you think is the leading cause of the global deforestation?
Crops.
No, pasture. It's Wait, I put it on screen. Give me a second.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Wait, you sent me. There you go. So let's analyze that graph.
I think this one was it, right?
Yeah. So okay. Excuse- So this graph, world in data, is very misleading as well because you can
Okay.
see that on the animal feeds, right, cropland, it says that 43% is used to produce crop fed to animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many of those are beef?
It's probably for chicken, pigs, and whatever.
Exactly. It's probably for other crops and pigs. So about pasture, without vegan worlds, those pasture animals, right, would not exist. And you have to create more crops for those animals.
Yeah, but do you think we would then need more cropland than that whole pasture? Do we have here like cows are not that much? I think it was like 7% of the. Is it listed or something? Cows are like 7% of the global calories, and they take up how much is it? 75% of our land. Like clearly that doesn't add up, right?
But you understand that you can grow cows, and most of them do, on land that is not good for crops. So no food would grow there for humans unless we have animals there, which means that you'd have to destroy more land in order to create crops.
Yeah, but if you were to suggest that we all switch to like you suggested, I eat grass-fed beef now to reduce my deaths. This
Yes.
will increase the demand for grass-fed beef, right? And do you think there is empty grasslands that we don't use? No, we have to deforest and everything.
No, no. There's so much more. It's called perennial land. There's so much more land that you can use for pasture than crops. It's like a 70 to 30, or not even 30, but less than.
30 what? You cut out the
I know that it's like 70 30, 80 20.
20 what percent? Or what do you mean now? You're cutting out on me right now.
I'm sorry. So I was saying that uh, y- not all pasture land can be used to grow crops. So if you eliminate the animals that are in pastures, you'd have to grow your croplands.
Right, but you could also, I mean, I could say then why don't we do organic farming that doesn't cause any crop deaths if we go into hypotheticals like this?
It's not an hypothetical. My sentence is 100% true, but organic farming is working yet. It might work one day, but not at the moment.
Yeah, but you could definitely reduce the deaths on a cropland by a lot, right? If you
With vegan,
actually care for that.
with veganic farming, you mean?
Generally, you just watch out more for little animals in farming.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Like I showed you that animal visual graph, right? That
Yeah.
says even if you, it says the number that you question basically that even if the cow grows on air, we would still kill less, have still less crop deaths with the same amount of calories. And you say basically it's more than this that this study says.
Yeah, that study, man, I swear, man, you have to throw that one away. It's no good, man. But I'll find something better.
Yeah,
Mm.
sure. But
Um,
we might as well reduce the number of crop deaths, right? If we watch out for this more. Like maybe we can't reduce it to zero yet, especially with insects, of course, but we could probably reduce it to zero for little animals and everything.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What's the point right now? Sorry.
That we can reduce crop deaths to zero, essentially, not counting insects right now.
By going vegan, you mean?
Not by going vegan. I mean by you said we could only grow cows on grassland, which is not really the case right now, right? I'm saying okay, we could also only buy crops grow crops that don't cause any crop deaths, which also doesn't really exist right now, but hypothetically would be even better.
So the your point is that because I'm saying that if we eliminate cows right now and we would convert everyone to crops, which is something that is real, is the same as equating to something that is not yet perfectly functioned, such as the veganic farming.
The Well, it does function. Do you think it's impossible to farm food without
No, no,
causing
I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm trying to tell you is that it hasn't really worked yet. You don't really see that much right now. It might work one day, it might be efficient one day, but at the moment it's not.
yeah, because nobody really cares to do it, but we could just do it.
More
And that
like
there's
8
nothing stopping
billion
us from
pounds in
doing that.
investment.
Sorry?
Uh, no, there was you saying that nobody cares, but there was like 8 billion pounds invested, like the whole veganic farming not that long ago, and all these companies went down. It feels like a lot of people care.
And they couldn't farm crops without causing small animals to die. Or are we talking about insects again now?
No, no, no. Sorry, I think we're not talking about the same thing right now. Let's go back. Um, so at this point in time, I cannot prove to you that grass-fed beef causes less deaths than vegan beef. I truly don't believe that I'm wrong on this one, and I'm going to try to find the sources that defend my position. And if I cannot find any, then I'll happily accept that getting protein and nutrients from vegan sources would be more efficient and kill less animals. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure. One more point to raise, which maybe you can also look into. You need to harvest grass for grass-fed cows, right? So they have food during the winter.
Yes and no. There's a lot of pastures that have grass even during snow times, and there's a lot of lands that don't really get that cold. Uh, Azores, for example, is an island which is perfect for cows since they can
Yeah, in the
graze all
Ireland,
year round.
there's snow in Ireland.
Sorry?
There is snow in the winter in Ireland.
Sorry, I meant Azores. In Ireland, I'm sure, but not everywhere.
Yeah, maybe in sovereign countries like Africa, Brazil.
Yeah. You know, that already defeats the argument that they have to grow grass to eat during the winter.
But essentially, he's saying we should only grow or farm cows on those places, and this would reduce the number of deaths.
That one, like, again, I don't want to make a claim like that because I would have to find the sources first. But I still don't think that even in places that you have to grow grass to feed to cows during the winter, that would cause more deaths. Simply because the pesticide use is just enormous to grow crops for humans. Um, Not to
Yeah, but
mention all the other
you're not
things.
you're not talking about insects again with the
No, 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 no.
pesticides.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Pesticide use kills many birds, mammals, and fishes. So it kills a lot of animals, not just. insects.
Yeah, but fishes also die from pasture when from the from the how's it called, from the cows' excrements and stuff. They have runnage,
What? I've never
nutrient
heard that
runoff,
before.
creating dead zones for fish.
I'm sorry, you're saying that fish die because there's manure runoff?
Yeah, no, nutrient runoff it's called, which yes, is basically from the manure.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. I'm gonna have to check
I
that
mean,
out
it,
because I've never heard that
it
before.
can happen. I just go to a few points that involve deaths in pasteurized cows. Like you already mentioned predator killing, right?
I'm sorry?
You already mentioned predator killing for wolves,
Yes.
coyotes, bears, mountain lions.
Uh, just even eagles and other animals,
Yeah, eagles maybe for protecting chickens and stuff.
and hawks and foxes and all those.
But it should be clear that chickens and pigs are off the table, right? With causing less deaths.
Regarding causing less deaths?
Yeah, they can't be fed byproducts. They can't also just be fed with pasture and stuff.
Okay, Benjamin, I don't think you realize. Okay, so when we talk about byproducts, what do you mean by byproducts? Sorry.
It's firstly crop residues, and then there is food waste from humans.
Okay, and animals cannot be fed with the food waste from humans.
They can be fed with food waste, but we don't have that much food waste. Or essentially, we already feed them all the food waste.
You would be able to grow mostly plant-based for humans and then a few animals with food waste.
Which food waste? You mean leftovers from what we eat?
Leftovers, yeah. Let's say leftovers, not just leftovers, but also other products such as soy cake and all that.
And what's soy cake?
You know, when you make oil for human consumption or for ethanol or for energy,
Oh,
you
right,
are
right.
left with the protein soy cake, which, granted, humans could eat part of it, but not all of it, since it's super processed.
Yeah, you will have to show me that those animals can be fed only with byproducts. And I get it for food waste, but we already feed them all the food waste we have. So you wouldn't be, you couldn't lower those numbers anymore or increase it. Like if you say, if you tell it's now, I don't know how many million vegans are in Europe. If you tell them to start eating animals from food waste, we only have so much food waste, so you wouldn't reduce deaths in any way.
But I'm not advocating because right now the state of the world is pretty bad. I don't think we should be eating as much meat as we are all eating, or even as much plant products such as sugar or cereals. What I'm trying to advocate is that people could have a mostly plant-based diet with a little bit of meat, eggs, fish, dairy, and that would reduce the total animal deaths from crops and otherwise. I understand that this is not. Yeah, I'm gonna have to source this claim because you have your own claim that I don't like, um, and I'll happily
Mm.
try to disprove it. I just don't think we're gonna be able to move on from now until I get that done for you. I just thought it would be, to me, like in my mind, is obvious, but it's my mistake.
Yeah, okay, let's basically say we are agnostic right now, and you don't accept my numbers, and you basically have no numbers, but you say you
Exactly.
can research some.
Exactly.
Um,
I'll be happy to quickly in just one day or two set the information straight, so I can send you something cohesive. Right now, if I'm gonna look for random numbers, I just might say something wrong, and I don't want to do that.
yeah, fair. So let's maybe have this conversation another time then.
Awesome, 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 awesome. I will send that as soon as I can. I'm gonna
Hmm.
try to get it done by today, if not tomorrow. I actually
Yeah,
have a couple of
take
days.
your time.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. You want to move on to NTT?
Yeah, I would like to ask you first about something philosophical. Like, do
Sure,
you
sure, sure.
do you Is that what you care about? You care about reducing the number of deaths? Or are you only
Of
making
animals?
this? Yeah, like why are you making that argument to begin with?
Look, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. I'm a hypocrite sometimes, I go to McDonald's and all that, but I do care about reducing suffering in general.
Suffering. Yeah, but we were
Okay.
talking about deaths now.
Well, I'm including deaths in the suffering part.
Okay, fair. But about the exploitation, like the sexual exploitation that happens to cows, breeding them into the existence just to exploit them, you don't see that as problematic?
No, not really, no. I'm a bit desensitized to the animal part of that. I don't see that as, the way you see it.
They basically say they don't deserve those basic rights of not being exploited, getting to decide of their own body.
Well, I don't think that animals have rights.
Yeah, they don't have rights legally, but nobody has technically universally rights. We just say we should give them rights.
I concede rights to humans. Anything else, I don't, because I think I will always prioritize humans. And if I can reduce in some sense, these animal suffering, I'll be happy to, but I will not abdicate for human health, happiness, or longevity.
Okay, but that's a false dichotomy now, because you don't have to take away rights from humans to give it to animals.
No, no, I'm not saying take away rights. I'm saying is that I'm not going to abdicate human health, human satisfaction, and pleasure for animals that I don't consider that are worthy of that sacrifice.
You're saying basically the taste pleasure justifies the exploitation.
I think for a correct answer or something that I think about. We can go to ridiculous points, right? Like if it was just taste pleasure, I don't think I could justify that statement. But what if that taste pleasure brings about happiness that stops someone from going into depression, for example? Then I would be able to justify it.
Yeah, but that's something that everyone could say, right? I need to exploit someone because otherwise I get depressed. Don't you think
Oh,
it's a bit a slippery slope there?
that's the thing, I consider that for humans, but not for animals. I don't think animals are nowhere near the same level as humans in case of moral consideration.
Okay. So yeah, let's go into the name the trade then. I think it goes hand in hand with what you just said.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You did say that name the trade doesn't work because there can't be a single trade, right?
So my problem with name the trait is twofold. One, the question isn't complete. The question starts with an assumption that it's traits that gives humans a moral superiority or a moral value, which I don't agree with, since I don't think anyone can point out a trait that gives humans moral value. And I give that example on the trolley problem. And then my second point is that even if I would concede that humans have moral value due to traits, that traits specifically or traits might be impossible to determine simply because of the heap of sand and the desert argumentation.
Yeah, but then on what basis do you decide that one individual deserves right and the other doesn't?
Basis that I give you, like if I would put the trolley problem to you, you would probably choose the human over the animal. I'm guessing.
I, I mean, I'm agnostic on depends. If the human is Hitler, then maybe not. Like see, it depends on other things.
Like what?
Yeah, like if it's Hitler, for example, or maybe what
Okay,
if this is an individual that is basically in coma and brain dead. The human is brain dead
I,
and essentially has no sentience. The animal
in,
does.
yeah, in my video, I concede the fact that if it's like a very bad person and an animal, then there's a good argument to save the animal rather than the bad person. I already conceded that. What I'm trying to ask you is that if you don't know anything about the person, and if you don't know anything about the animal, and it's a sentient animal, one that is very high in the hierarchy, like a sentient mammal, I think everyone would choose the human.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess most people
Okay.
would, but what does this have to do with name the trade?
Okay. At which point, for you specifically, would the human have to lose traits in order to be not worthy of the animal sacrifice?
To be, you mean that the human can't say my displeasure is more than the animal's lives?
No,
What do you
like
mean with
okay.
worthy of sacrifice?
So in my example, the trolley problem, you have to choose to either sacrifice a human or an animal. Most people would sacrifice the animal in favor of the human, not knowing any traits about it. I'm not saying if it's Hitler or not, but most people and probably you would save the human. Okay. At what point in the trait equalization would you flip your switch in order to make sure the animal survives and not the human?
Like with what traits basically?
Yes.
I mean, it could be a few things the like the animal has a higher capacity of sentience, high capacity for emotions. Like if it has a also a longer lifespan, and in addition to those,
Okay. So if the animal has, okay, so you're saying that again, same concept in the track. If the human has 20 years to live, but the animal has 25 years to live, you would consider saving the animal rather than the human.
yeah, if their level of sentience is equal, then yes. Otherwise, I would probably prefer the level of sentience, like the emotional depth, capacity for well-being and suffering, all that stuff.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I got this right. You said that you would kill a human if the human is sentient, as sentient as the animal, meaning that the human would have to be pretty, I don't know, mentally behind in order to be have the same sentience as the animal, as long as the human would live less than the animal. Is that what you're saying?
I would include the more considerations like does the human have family? Does the animal have family? Like at that point, there's extrinsic value, but let's equalize that as well and say both don't have any connections to other individuals. Yes, then yes.
Okay, well, uh, so wow, that's very strange to me. So if a human is mentally challenged but would live less, you would consider saving the animal. That's wow,
Yeah, the human is an animal essentially. Like, what's the difference at that point?
man. Okay,
Like, what's the
so
difference between that human and the animal? You tell me.
man, look, man, that's a very hard sell, man. I'm gonna be honest. Saying that you would save an animal rather than a human if they have the same level of sentience, if one could outlive the other, is man, I'm sorry, but I cannot take that position. Humans always have priority, at least morally.
Yeah, can you rationalize that, or is it just like what you got taught, also? Like normality?
Well, I can rationalize it, I guess, because we belong in the same species, so I should prioritize those that are closest to me.
Like in groupism.
I'm sorry, can you define it groupism?
Like if we replace basically the animal with, let's say we both are white, just an example, and the other individual is black, and you have a white person that's in your from your group, and the black person is not from your group, in the sense of we are white, we are not black, and basically same example. The white person, they both have equal sentience, but the black person could live longer. And you say, yeah, no, of course, I would always save the one of my group, the white one, even though the black person could live longer.
I don't think I would determine my group by race. I would
Yeah, you
put
just
the
did it
barrier.
by species.
Species, yes, but not by race.
It's both you. You just named in-groupism.
No, you said in groupism. I didn't know what you meant by that. By you saying race, I have to
No,
object
you
because for
said
me,
because they are a part of my group. That's in-groupism.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back to what I said. But if I said that, my apologies. What I meant by is those who are, in this case, we're talking about humans. I'm not talking about uh, other races or deficient people or other countries even. For me, the barrier is it human or not? Everything else is irrelevant.
Okay, then this is the trait, basically. Being human.
I don't consider being human a trait because it's such a wide, broad set of things. If you would ask someone who doesn't know what humans are about human, that's not really a definition. You'd have to explain what that is.
Yeah, can you explain what the human is? In your consideration, like if you decide this individual is a human, this other individual is not a human, based on what will you make that?
Okay, so I think we're going to go back. We're going to go to my second point. Look, I don't think this is what defines if someone deserves to die or not, because again, the traits themselves make no sense. I don't think being human is a trait, but we can define a few traits that characterize humans, if that's what you want.
Being human is definitely a trait. Like being white is a trait. Being someone with black hair is a trait. It, whatever
No.
attribute you describe to an individual or even object, it's a trait of that individual.
No. Okay, so a trait is something true of any given object, right?
Yeah, right. Like being human.
Yes, but saying that the human, uh, saying that being human is a trait of humans, that doesn't make a lot of sense,
No,
does
no,
it?
a trait of an individual.
That is human.
Yeah, that's the trait, basically. Just like a trait of an individual could be that they have black hair, and you don't be like, yeah, but a black-haired human has the trait of being a black-haired human.
But like, I don't think we can agree on that because black hair is a predefined characteristic. If I would ask to define, oh, if I would ask someone to describe a human and they never saw one before, what would that mean?
I mean, it's your category. You choose. You have to define your own basis of discrimination.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the heap of sand. So for me, humans have such a wide broad of characteristics, but none of them define human beings, right?
Hmm.
I could
So,
I
so,
could ask
so
Chat.
it's undefined.
It's not undefined. It has a lot of characteristics. It has a lot of traits. But losing one of those traits, for example, would not stop it from being human. Does that make any sense?
Hmm. Sure, yeah. You don't have to make it so that every trait has to be included. You can say
Mhm.
or like either this trait or this trait has to be true. for you to protect those individuals.
Yeah, it's and or yeah, for sure. But like you said, there's a lot of things that can factor into your definition of human. I can ask ChatGPT to give me like 100 traits of humans, and none of them would be essential. So I'm not sure what would be your follow-up question if I give you 100 traits.
Well, it's your opinion, really, right? You say this individual has to be protected at no cost, and then this other individual not. But then again, what's the difference? That makes, like you say, human, but what constitutes a human then?
I can give you a list of hundreds of traits that belong to human. How would that help the discussion?
Yeah, and although I think if one of those traits is true, then you are a human.
Not doesn't have to be one. It can be 10 or 15 or 12, depending on the emphasis that we give to each one.
Yeah, depending on what you. I mean, it's all just subjective. It's your opinion, but
Uh,
your
this
opinion is
is
kind of undefined. You just say, okay, you just
this is
say
the
whatever.
problem. Every time I have a discussion regarding this is my issue because I cannot get my point across. So if I say that humans trait-wise have two arms, that means that a human with no arms is not a human. And yet two arms is still a trait of humans.
Yeah, sure, but do you care about the trait morally in that sense?
If getting those traits makes a human, then yes, I care.
Yeah, but losing the trait doesn't make one not human, right?
Losing one trait, depending on which one, yeah, it doesn't stop something from being human.
Yeah, okay, well, which trait I would have to lose for me to not be human anymore?
You would have to present me an example, and I would tell you if I would consider it human or not, because again, there's so many of them.
Okay, let's say we find an Iceland with Neanderthals, basically.
Okay.
They kept evolving, and we didn't see that yet, but now we found the island and they live there. And they are not Homo sapiens, obviously, they are Neanderthals. Are they human?
Uh, if I would, they're not human, but I would give them the same
Well,
consideration because
biologically, they are not human.
biologically they're not human, but I would still extend the rights to them if they are, self-aware, consciousness. If they would present themselves human-like, if I would see them develop the same connections as humans do,
You would consider them humans, basically.
I would give them the same rights, but they wouldn't be human.
Okay, so you do accept the biological definition of humans, right?
Sorry, Neanderthals?
Yeah, so yeah, the biological definition is basically that we have the genes as of the Homo sapien. We can interbreed with each other. That's what makes us humans. And our dog can't breed with us, doesn't have those genes. That's why dog is not human, right? That's the biological definition.
I've never heard that definition, so I'm not sure if I can agree with it right now.
Well, species is a biological term.
A species?
Species, yes, human. The species of human comes from biology.
Sure, sure, sure. But like the fact that I would say today, right now, I would not extend the rights to another species. That doesn't mean that if we would encounter another species with the same level of intelligence, wisdom, sentience, um, communication, family bonds, needs, all of those, I would happily grant them rights as well.
Okay, well, now you named a few traits. Awesome.
I named a few, but it's not exclusive. There might be more.
So, so let's assume they have only the intelligence. Would you then protect them? Like the intelligence of, let's just say 100 IQ human.
If I would extend rights to a 100 IQ human,
No. If we found like an island there are apes, a new ape species we don't know, they live like animals, like cows, chicks, pigs, or whatever animal. But they
yeah,
have the only trait that is different is that they have higher intelligence. Like they have 100 IQ points.
I'm not sure. I would have to observe them. I would have to see how they act, how they communicate, how they interact. Are they capable of some sort of connection that's it's apart from their animal instincts?
And what if they behave like a mentally disabled human who behaves like a cow, basically?
If it's a human, I will not. I will always extend the rights. If it's an ape that behaves like a cow, not sure. I would have to see how that works. This is a hypothetical. I'm not sure where you're going to go with this. We could find aliens that would fit any criteria, but how can you make a decision based on that?
Well, I can, but I mean, you can ask me, for example. I can just name you the traits that are relevant to me, but it seems like your discrimination is based on nothing really. Like it is based on, of course, the category human, the species, but then also not because you would protect Neanderthals and everything.
I just feel like you are committing the fallacy of the heap of sand and the desert. You're asking me to name which grain of sand makes a desert. I will never be able to name you that. I can just see and tell you, is it a desert or a heap of sand?
You can see it basically.
Yeah, you would have to see it and
But
evaluate it.
you have to make the decisions based on some. Like, I can probably define the difference between a desert and a sandcorn.
You can define them, but you can never point out to me which grain of sand transforms a heap to a desert. You know what I mean? You can never find the exact grain of sand that makes that change.
Yeah, because I guess I mean maybe this defined how much sandcorns you need for that, but I guess it's just not defined. Like it's something undefined. But it's not relevant to define this. We don't have to make moral decisions based on who is a heap and who is a desert. Don't you think if we make decisions that are severe enough to say, yo, I take away your rights, that we should define this more clear?
How can you define it more clear if you cannot find uh, the clear point where this changes? You, for example, before even ignored insects. But if you go up the scale slowly, I'm sure you can find animals that go in the scales from insects to cows and pigs. At what point do you switch to, oh, I don't care anymore?
Yeah, just to be clear, I do care about insects as well, and I think we shouldn't. We should protect them and don't just harm them or avoid to harming them if possible. But I just was pointing out that it's kind of doesn't really make sense to save 100 flies I mean to save 100 flies and
Right? How many?
exploit the cow for this.
Okay, how many flies would you save in order to exploit the cow?
Mm, no idea, maybe thousands.
Okay, like if I'm asking you right now for a specific number, would you be able to tell me?
No.
You'd probably have to see it and evaluate, no?
What do you mean see it?
Like if you would see, okay, I have to make a choice between this group and this group. You would see the amount of flies or the amount of ants or the amount of bees, and then you would make a decision. But right now, you wouldn't be able to tell me exactly the number of animals that would make you switch.
Okay, just to be clear, I would never say it's okay to exploit the cows for utilitarian reasons, right? But if I had to make a decisions, one dies, one lives, I would have to think about this more. But it's definitely a lot insects for one cow.
So this is the crux of my argument when we go into the traits, is that I'm not able to tell you. There's this fuzzy area between animals and humans, but I would never be able to tell you exactly which characteristic has to flip for me to say, okay, they deserve rights. What I'm telling you is that once we see it, we can decide. And right now, there's no other animal on Earth that deserves that. We have some scales, for example. I would rather not eat dogs and eat cows, for example. But at the same time, if need may be, I think dogs as well could be sacrificed.
Yeah, because you say they don't have rights, basically.
They don't have rights, in my opinion.
Or they
And
shouldn't have rights, essentially.
yes, we have responsibilities as humans towards taking care of other living beings and the nature, but they don't have rights.
I'm not sure what you mean with that you have to see it. Like, I don't have to see how much. Like you said to me that would have to see the flies and the cow, right?
Yes.
But I'm not sure what this would make, what difference it would make if I see it.
Sorry, by seeing it, I mean you'd have to put into that situation for you to make a choice. You wouldn't be able to tell me otherwise.
You mean what I would do in that situation?
Yeah. Right now, you say you cannot tell me how many animals it would be, but it may be if I would show you a certain number of animals, and you would have to make a decision.
Yeah,
You would say, "Oh,
I would make a decision, of course, if I had to.
there you go." So that's what I'm trying to tell you right now, is that even though you cannot tell me how many animals exactly your decision would switch, if you would be put in that situation, you would be able to say yes or no.
Yes, but you are in that situation, right?
Yes. And right now, I see animals uh, use as okay to use for human health, consumption, and happiness.
Yeah, you deem it as moral, basically.
Can you
Because
repeat, please?
you deem it as moral. Like the question isn't necessarily what you would do in that situation, it's what you would consider moral for someone to do in that situation. Like what's the moral choice?
And I already answered that. At some point, I cannot answer which trait is the one that flips for me.
Mm, yeah, but you are in that situation. You could basically now say it's okay to kill humans because that would be save animals, basically. Like you are already in that situation where you say, okay, those deserve rights, those don't deserve rights.
Yeah, but I would never kill humans in order to save animals unless certain traits, like we mentioned, like a very bad person or something like that, or maybe would this cause like catastrophic environmental destruction that then would affect more humans. Yeah, of course, I would consider it. But other than that, why would I sacrifice a human in order to save an animal?
Sure, that's your opinion, but sorry, it's based on no rationale.
You can say that, and yet, at least in my view, you are a little bit on my side because you chose humans over animals in my example, and uh, maybe not in case of some humans, but most of them you would probably choose over animals.
I mean, just to be clear, I'm agnostic in that if I only know one is a human, one is an animal, I'm agnostic on which would be the moral choice here. because it depends on other things than species.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is, if you are put in a situation where you have to decide between humans or animals, you would most likely choose the human based on the traits that you mentioned before, sentience and all that.
Yes, but only because I don't really have any more details.
Okay. And if someone is able to prove that the vegan diet is harmful for humans, would you consider then using animals in order to save humans?
What do you mean harmful for humans? Like you need to exploit humans for vegan food?
No, you would need to exploit animals in order to feed humans, in case the vegan diet would not work.
Sorry, can you restate that question?
If if it is proven one day that the vegan diet does not work for humans and you do need some sort of animal foods in order to sustain humans, would you uh, sacrifice these animals in order to save the humans?
I don't know if I would deem it as moral, but it's probably what we would do, yes. It's out of necessity. And yeah, necessity
So,
is a decent justification.
so would you say that the question is not about traits anymore, but about health?
No, a necessity would be a trait or health in
Okay,
whatever.
interesting. Okay, I see what you mean. So necessity would be a trait.
E- Maybe trait is the wrong word. Maybe the yeah yeah, forget about it. I would phrase it differently. Necessity is a justification to violate someone's right, understandable justification. That's the put.
Yeah, because in order to save yourself, you would sacrifice others.
It would be understandable, yes. Wouldn't necessarily say it's moral.
So it's no longer about traits in this case. It's about necessity.
Well, again, it's still immoral. The trait is about what I would deem as moral.
I'm sorry, if that's immoral, what's the moral thing?
I guess to starve.
Sacrifice yourself would be the moral thing.
If you would have to kill many animals to survive, then I guess. I mean, again, I would understand it if I'm in that situation. I would probably also just do that what I need to do to survive. But I wouldn't call it the moral thing to do. If I basically take away the lives of others for my own sake.
So the point is, okay, so interesting. It wouldn't be more. I'm trying to process what you said. It wouldn't be moral because it's necessary. Or sorry, it would. Yeah, it would be immoral even though it's necessary.
Mm, yeah, I could probably give you a different answer based on the day. Let's call it a moral gray zone, maybe.
Moral gray zone.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to think about that, man. I'm not sure if I can agree simply because it's either moral or immoral. Can something be considered moral if I'm hurting myself? It doesn't feel right.
E- yeah, but let's say there is another species. Let's say aliens come to this planet, and they start to farm us humans, and that's their only source of food, and they need it to survive. Would you say that's moral of them?
I wouldn't see it as moral or immoral. Like you said, it's a necessity, no?
It's a more gray zone maybe. So we agree at least on that.
Yeah, it would be terrible for us, and I would hate it for sure. That doesn't make it moral or immoral. It's just horrible.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Give me 30 seconds, please. Sorry, I'm back. So right now we are at the point where um, I don't think being human is a trait, but we discussed that even though being human comes with several traits, I couldn't justify a single trait or multiple traits that would uh, justify killing animals. This is so far how it goes.
Yes, yes. I gotta say, you couldn't provide a trait. You're
Yes.
you take away the rights of individuals based on something you can't really put into a rationale.
Yes, and I responded to that by saying that there are certain things that you either know it to be true or don't. There's no in between. There's no. There's basically a gray area where definition is impossible. It's either
You just go by vibes, basically. That's the definition of not rational.
my wipes. I'm sorry. What?
Like let go of your feelings. Like you feel like this one deserves rights, this one doesn't. That's irrational.
It's based on feelings, but that's all morality. You know, morality. It's all about feelings. It's what about this doesn't feel good and this doesn't feel this feel right.
Yeah, but I can, of course, I feel like sentient beings should deserve rights, but then I apply it consistently to all sentient beings, for example.
Okay, sentient beings deserve rights, right? And we've agreed that if it's necessary for humans to consume, you would still accept it, even though it's a moral gray area.
Yeah, uh, the moral thing to do would probably do starve. Like let's assume those aliens in my example, they make a decision. They could either, let's say, the aliens just decide, okay, we as a species we just die out and let those humans live in peace, and those humans can have their vegan world and it's great. Or we go to the humans and exploit them for the rest of their life. Wouldn't you say the virtuous moral choices for them to just not do it and die?
It's a force of nature. There's no right or wrong there.
Well, they are moral agents, right? They can decide what's the moral decision.
You can decide, and I do have my preference, but that doesn't make it right or wrong. You know, what's right for me might be wrong for them. Why would I sacrifice me, my family, my friends for a another being? You know,
Um, wouldn't you say the golden rule is let's not do upon others as you wouldn't have been done on yourself?
yeah, that sounds great. Absolutely,
I
I'm
think
not
that
saying.
boils down most of morals, right?
Sorry.
That boils down what our morals should say, right?
Yeah, it's a great rule. It's a great rule.
So, would you want those aliens to do this to you or not?
No, I would hate it, but it doesn't make it moral or immoral.
But those aliens do upon you as they wouldn't want to be done onto themselves.
That's fine, but look, we're not talking about what feels good or feels bad. We're talking about morality.
Yeah, when it's not about feelings, it's quite logical. You shouldn't inflict something on someone that you wouldn't want someone to inflict onto you.
That's a great thing to have. But again, if I'm like, look, if a guy comes to rob me and I kill him, that like, you know what I mean? Oh, I shouldn't kill him because I wouldn't want that to be done to myself. You know what I mean? It's I don't understand that point. Self-preservation is the ultimate morality.
You mean in self-defense? Don't you think if you attack someone and threaten their life, that it's fair of them to kill you?
I don't know, but they didn't threaten my life. They just wanted to steal something from me.
Yeah,
If they
yeah,
tried,
you probably shouldn't shoot them then, if they don't threaten your life, no? Or do you think it's fair if you would rob someone for whatever reason and they shoot you?
yeah, but I don't know if they're threatening my life or not. I'm just assuming that they would. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they didn't even have a weapon like they said they had. But I felt threatened.
Yeah, so do you think it would be fair if you rob someone and they feel threatened for their life and then shoot you?
I'm sorry. Are you arguing against self-preservation?
No, I'm asking for your values.
My
Like
values.
if you were to rob someone,
If
you,
someone attacks me and there's a small chance that something very bad can happen to me, it's free for all. Anything goes.
if there's a small chance only.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like in that situation, it's happening very fast.
Yeah, sure, but would you apply the
Look,
same logic
Pedro.
to if you rob someone? Like,
Yeah, I'm putting myself at risk if I'm robbing someone.
right. So you are consistent. That's my point. Like,
Yeah, but I don't understand how you can argue against self-preservation.
no, no, I'm not. I'm
Self,
not. I'm saying you would do unto someone as you would be as you would want to be done unto yourself. Like you say, it's fair if you get shot if you rob someone, and then it's also consistent to shoot
yes,
someone if they rob you. In this
yes,
case, you are consistently fair.
yes.
But if the aliens come and start to farm humans, would you then consider this as fair as well?
In change of what? Sorry, what's the comparison to be fair or not?
Like if those aliens need humans to survive, or they could just die, so they come to this planet and start to factory farm or exploit humans for the rest of their existence. Would you consider this as fair from your perspective as a human?
There's no other alternative.
Yes.
I don't know what can I do, man. It's nature, bro.
No, it's not
Um,
what you can do. What you if you think it's
it- it-
fair.
yeah, it's fair, man. It's like it's force of nature, man. If a storm hits me, I'm not gonna like it, but who am I gonna complain to? It's nature.
No, it's not about whether you like it or whether you if you could do anything about it.
If the choice is between me surviving or someone else, it's 100% fair that you choose yourself, that you self-preserve. I I don't understand what's the argument.
Okay, so you would say it's fair
Yeah,
for them
yeah, it's fair.
to do this. Okay.
and but I would do anything in my power to avoid it. That doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's not
makes
fair.
sense. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. It's a very hypothetical scenario. But is there a point coming after that, or
No, I was just testing your consistency on that.
okay? Sorry if I we didn't get there faster.
I mean, I would probably say it's not fair for the aliens to do this, but that's
You
just my
think
opinion. We can
and
have
fair
your
would
own.
be for them to starve.
Yes, instead of exploiting others.
Okay. Uh, One last question then before we log off. Uh, if I can prove that vegan farming kills more animals, not just insects,
Hmm.
than my option, would you say then it's better to eat animals?
No, because I'm not a utilitarian. Like I care,
Okay.
I think
But
animals. Just like you said, it's never okay to exploit a human, even though you would save more lives down the line. I extend that the rights. I logically extend it because, like you, I can't rationalize the difference, and I acknowledge this and admit it. So I have to extend the same rights to animals as well, and say, no, it's not okay to exploit them, even if it would save more lives down the line, which I question, by the way, and don't
yeah,
think
of
is
course,
the
no
case.
question.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'm not saying you do. I want to be set that clear. But so you would be okay in causing more suffering to a bigger amount of animals than as long as you don't exploit them. Is this correct?
To a certain threshold, yes.
Okay. Do you
Like
know what that threshold is?
I would have to think about this. Not sure actually. I'm agnostic,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's definitely if I would save 2 cows, I wouldn't exploit 1 cow over it. Let's put it that way.
Do you have a hierarchy of animals, or is it like by groups, like mammals, birds, fish, insects? Is there? Do you prefer one to the others?
Mm, I guess we depends on each animal.
Okay, let me give you an example. Sorry. Would you consider the killing of a mouse the same as the killing of a cow?
There's the lifespan.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry, you already mentioned lifespan. Uh, so basically, for me to prove uh, that the exploitation of the animals is better than vegan farming, I would have to show you numbers that not only are greater in number, but also in other characteristics like lifespan.
Yeah, you could say you take away more lifespan, so to say.
Okay, so and in that case, uh, you would be okay with, well, not okay, but you would consider exploiting animals if the number is so great that you would consider it.
Yes, at some threshold, I'm switching to utilitarian.
Yes, not just like numbers of lives. I'm saying like
Suffering in general, yes.
exactly.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay, so basically, I have to put the numbers into a way that will show those characteristics, not just lifespan, but also the type of animal, right?
Yeah, but it would then still not be relevant unless you give me a practical alternative that I could use right now.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I'll have to
Like
find a
like
specific example.
otherwise, yeah, I don't know how you want to address vegans and tell them they cause more deaths if they don't have a better alternative that causes less deaths.
My okay, so my argument was all about uh, number of total deaths. It's just a purely utilitarian argument. I understand that doesn't convince many people. I spoke to another gentleman named Janus that said that, for example, the deaths are not equated because some of them are violating property rights by invading the crops, while others are just being exploited. And I conceded that. Okay, I understand why you would say that. I don't agree with it because again, for me, animals don't have rights, but that's another story. So I understand that the number of deaths are not equated for you. I just need to find out which ones. But relating this to traits, in this case, all other traits would take a back seat in order to consider number of total deaths plus lifespan plus conscious.
I guess so. I didn't think that through. I can maybe send you a few different traits I care about if you give me more time.
Yeah, like I said, we'll if you're okay with it, if you want, of course, we
I
can
can add
revisit
a few
this.
traits, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's postpone our conversation for a few days at least,
Hmm.
and we'll keep chatting on Discord.
And
At least
about name the trait, are you just leave it like this, like you can't really name a trait and you can't really justify the discrimination with anything out of besides in-groupism? Like what you said. Humans are my
species,
group.
right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if humans are my group, in this case, my species.
So
But I would consider.
you only differentiation right now is my group deserves right, other group does not deserve right.
Um, I would consider other groups, other species, but I would have to observe them and study them first if that's
Yeah,
actually.
will you work out a set of traits that is relevant to you, or because right now it's just undefined?
And I can try to work out a set of traits, but like I said, it might be impossible. Like I said with the example of the desert, I will think about it more clearly. I already thought about it, and I couldn't reach a conclusion that would satisfy me. But I'll revisit the
Yes,
subject.
please, but I don't think if you can't name the trait basically that you have
Uh,
any justification to take away someone's rights based on something you
I'll
can't even rationalize.
It's not about being able to rationalize it or not. It's about, what you think you know it to be true, you know. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, but you have to be consistent with your own values, so to say. Like, I mean, you could even say just black people don't deserve rights or whatever. It's your opinion, but what I'm questioning here is your consistency in your own opinions.
Consistent, wait, my consistency,
Consistency. But for
finishes
example,
at species.
sorry.
It's not, my consistency at the moment finishes at species. The moment
Yeah,
I
but
see
it doesn't because there are holes in it,
there's holes in it.
like with the Neanderthals, for example.
Yeah, but they're not real.
It doesn't matter. Hypothetical test, zero logical consistency.
They're not real. I would have to like literally meet them and see if they are indeed like humans or like animals. You don't give me much of a choice. Are
Yeah,
they?
but that's a contradiction. You say now it's based on human-like traits. It's not about human anymore. Now it's about traits.
Like for example, okay, but I don't think you've ever met a Neanderthal. Neither did I. You don't know. We assume that we know stuff about them, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah, it
We have some
can.
we have some evidence of their lifestyle and the way they lived, and we even have some DNA of Neanderthals in us. So I'm very likely to accept them um, as owners of rights, just like humans. But I wouldn't be able to make that decision without actually knowing about these people. I'm just assuming stuff.
Yeah, you can assume stuff. Like we can just assume they have human-like traits, but you would have to define those traits that matter.
Okay, then what are those traits then?
That's your opinion. Like you have to name the trade if you
Uh,
justify taking away one's rights. Like,
I
do you know the full question of name the trade, by the way?
no, I have it. Thank you. It's just like for me, it's just incredible to think that um, you would save uh, an animal over a mentally challenged person when all else is equal except for numbers of years. That for me, it's a very hard position to take.
I
And I'll be
mean,
honest, I wasn't expecting it.
you literally said if all else is equal. So what's there left to be so weird about that?
One is human and the other one is not. Uh, for me, that's the end of the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so
I don't.
that could be true of the Neanderthal as well, who has all human-like traits but isn't human.
So you're telling me that it's human, but it's not human. It's like a human, but it's not human. Is it like a human or is it not like a human?
Well, it's biologically it's not a human. It's not part of our species, right? But
DNA?
they have yeah, no, they don't have the human DNA, but they have they speak like us, they look like us, they think like us, they have emotions like us. But you say it would be insane to save one of those over humans, even
Wait,
though
wait.
everything is
You're,
equal.
okay, I think you have something wrong there. You're saying that they don't have our DNA, but humans have Neanderthal DNA. So I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The DNA of the Homo sapien, basically. Like they can't interbreed with us, therefore it's a different species.
Neanderthals cannot interbreed with us.
I I mean I guess so. Let's just say no, they can't. It's a
How, how
hypothetical.
do how do some people in the real world have some Neanderthal DNA then?
Because at some point we were interbreeding and then our DNA diverged. That's my uh, explanation model. I'm not an expert on this, but it's just a hypothetical. Like they don't have to be Neanderthals. Let's just say they are dolphins. They that started going onto our island, started speaking, started acting like humans. They are intelligent like us, have emotions, but clearly they are not humans. They are dolphins, dolphin people. And yeah, so all those things are
Yeah,
trade
look,
equalized and they would even live longer, but you say, no, it's insane to save one of those instead of a human.
let me think about it. So we don't even have to go for let's say dolphins or aliens or something that are just like humans but are not humans. And we proposed my trolley problem. Is that what you're saying?
Not the trolley problem, which is a distraction, by the way. The trolley problem has nothing to do with name the rate. It's name the
No, it's
rate
it's a,
that
it's a logical test.
it's name the rate that animal lacks, or an individual or a dolphin, that if a human would also lack, would make it okay to exploit, to take away the rights of that individual, basically. Or
No, but
uh,
the point of
should I repeat
the
it?
you can please.
What trait does the dolphin guy lack that if the human would also lack, would make it okay to take away the rights of that human?
And I have two answers for that. One, it's not traits that define humans, and if you want to go for the route that there are traits that define humans, you are not able to point out which trait is it that defines humans to have more moral rights. We're going a bit in circles. It's just like the thing with the trolley problem that I propose is that it's based on a real life event. And again, for me, it is uh, very, very hard to accept a position where anyone would save an animal rather than a human, even if it was
Okay,
a cow or a
even
pig.
if they are completely the same, they're just a different species, like the dolphin people.
Do you understand how unwise it is? What that phrase? Oh, they are the same, but they are different. Okay,
Well,
what do they
I would
look
say they
different?
are the same in the things that matter. Like they speak, they have emotions, they have families. Like those are the things that matter, no? Why would it matter if I'm human or not? It matters if I
I
have
just
all those other
I
things.
I just told you we cannot determine what are the things that matter. It's
Yeah, that's my point basically. You can't rationalize your discrimination. I mean, I can determine that there is no difference. Yes, I agree with you there. That's why I acknowledge that I have to give the same rights to those dolphin people.
even though I cannot rationalize my decision, I still know which one is the correct one based on the fact that you
Yeah,
could
based on
make an
feelings
action.
or
Look, if you want to go there, man, there's a whole branch of philosophy that says all morality is all about feelings. That's not the point of the discussion. What I'm trying to tell you is that everyone in this world that exists right now, when put into the test, which one would you save, a human or an animal? They would choose the human. And any other scenario where you choose the animal is
yes,
very, very ultra
because
unlikely.
because it's a speciesist world and we live in a world where animals get exploited and obviously you don't value them. Like if you go back in time, you would say obviously you would save the man and not the woman, right? Everyone would say that, or everyone would
And
say the my race and not the other race. Those were all forms of discriminations that
you
have no
cannot
rationale behind them, just like your form of discrimination right now.
you can you cannot justify a possible bad decision of the future based on something that happened in the past, because then you can justify anything.
No, you just made an appeal to normality. You just said just because everyone would say that makes it right.
It's not just because everyone would say it makes it right. It's because everyone agrees that's what's right.
Yeah, that's an appeal to normalcy fallacy.
Okay, but you cannot show me a situation where that would be wrong.
Yeah, I just did. Just because everyone said you would choose a woman, I mean a man over a woman. Like just because everyone said that doesn't make it right.
You are trying to justify something that we might consider wrong in the future based on something that we consider wrong in the past. Uh, that's not a good argument.
No, I didn't really do that. You say again.
No, bro.
Correct me
Come
if
on.
I'm wrong, but you said everyone would say you would save a human over an animal, and that's your argument, right?
Not because everyone would say it is, but that's because that's what it is.
What do you mean it's subjective? It's based on what
Like,
people
okay,
would say.
so um, I could try to argue. I'm gonna go a bit into the ridiculousness just to make a point. I could try to say something like, "Oh, sitting in the chair is immoral," and you say, "No, no, no, sitting in a chair is moral." You know, at least we all consider it like that because it's good for your posture, it's good for whatever. And I say, "Oh, other people also had arguments for slavery before. That doesn't mean it's correct." You know what I mean? It makes no sense
Well,
to
where's
justify a
the?
future position.
Can you
Sorry,
point out the fallacy in that? The contradiction?
sitting on the chair.
Yeah, where's the contradiction that you just made?
Oh, wait, you're asking me if there was there was a fallacy there or
If there
a
was a
wrong
logical
thinking?
contradiction, yes.
Yes, there is, because then there's no right and wrong, because everything can be right or wrong. There's no morality then. Everything is subjective to time and whatever.
Well, yes, that's the case, no?
Then nothing is moral, nothing is right. It's
Yeah,
just
it's there's.
whatever.
Or do you think in objective? Do you believe in objective morality?
Yes,
Oh, well, that's an entirely different kind of worms then.
there are things that are right without any justification,
Like you would say,
are
it's
reasonable.
the human versus animal. That's objectively. You would always choose the human objectively.
I would always prioritize the human versus the animal. That's 100%.
You would say that's objective.
It's it's reality. It's subjective. It's the truth. That it's what benefits you and society the most.
Yeah, but what benefits it doesn't have anything to do with morality, right? With objective morality. Like I could
Benefit does
say,
not.
maybe it benefits me to exploit someone else. Doesn't mean it's moral.
You may think it benefits you, but in the long term, it doesn't benefit everyone.
And you think it
Like,
benefits the animals if you take away their rights?
repeat the question, please.
And you think it would benefit the animals if you don't give them rights?
I don't think animals are even capable of understanding that level of sophistication uh, of
Yeah,
intelligence to
but
realize what they're
there are
doing.
also humans who don't understand it.
Yeah, but they're humans. Talking about
Okay, then
animals.
again, you just named the trait. They don't understand it,
No, no, no.
and
I told you
then
before. The an objective truth is to prioritize humans over animals. There's no traits that changes this.
okay, yeah, I think we have to talk about this more next time.
Okay.
Like it's a
Um,
like, the objective morality part. Because I would
okay.
say
Can I?
morals are subjective. Like it would be a debate, objective versus subjective morals, moral realism debate.
Um, let me. How can I put this? Give me one second. I'm just trying to come up with an example that is a little bit outside of this to try to justify illogical morality.
Yeah, there is logical morality. It's moral consistency, right? But the, the like it means you act consistent to your own values. But what kind of values you have, this is subjective, I would say.
You don't believe there are certain moralities that there are no reason for you to accept them. You just accept them because, it's what not only feels good, but society as
Yet,
well tells you that is the best thing.
sorry, what?
There are certain rules, moralities, certain things that are good or bad, and they don't really depend on a logical argument per se. They're subjective, right?
No, they can be both. Like my values
Something
are
can be
subjective.
objective and subjective.
No, logical and subjective. Like just because something is objective, just because something is subjective doesn't mean it has to be illogical.
So just because
Like,
something is subjective, it doesn't mean it has to be illogical.
let me put this in an example. Let's say I just let's say I value everything that is sentient, like insects, humans, whatever, the same. That's my subjective opinion. They all have the same value, right?
Sure.
It's subjective, right?
That's subjective to you, yes.
Yes, and then I say, then you ask me, okay, so you give me the trolley example and say, or you basically ask me which is worth more, an ant or a human? And I would logically tell you they are both worth the same. It would be a logical answer, but it comes from my subjective values.
I don't think you can say it was a logical answer. You can say it was a consistent
Yeah, logic. It's
parameter.
logical consistent. Illogical would imply that there was a contradiction. Logical means there is no contradiction. Which I'm basically arguing
I,
that your morals are not logical because they contradict with your
I,
values.
I just I just feel like you're going into a point where you're saying that right and wrong doesn't exist, that there's no real morality. It's just how it depends on each and every person. And as long
Y-
as you are consistency with your illogical, then you are moral.
Uh, okay, I understand the problem here, the misunderstanding. No, I'm not saying you are. It makes you moral to be consistent. Like you would be consistent within your own morals, right? But
But
someone
you,
else might still consider you as immoral.
but you were just trying to dissect my morals by going into my logical consistency, just because I couldn't point out what's the trait that differentiates the humans and other species.
Uh, right, it's maybe something I would put in the room that if you contradict yourself against your own morals, if you are a moral hypocrite, so to say, that's maybe something we commonly agree upon that this is not good. Or would you agree with that?
If I would contradict my own morals, you mean?
Yes,
That's not good. Yeah,
it's not
we
good.
agree
Yeah.
on that.
All right. Yeah, I'm not saying that just because you don't contradict yourself makes it moral from my perspective. Like you could just say you really don't value anything outside of the biological definition of humans, and it would be consistent for you to just abuse everyone else like cows because you don't value them at all.
That would put me in a box that I don't defend, such as if other species comes that is on the same level of humans. You know what I mean? They would have a different biology. I I wouldn't use them for food.
No, no, it's just an example to explain. If someone would say, if someone would only value humans and nothing else matters to them, they could just go and abuse other animals and you could say nothing to them to point out their logical inconsistency because they are logically consistent. We both would consider them as evil, right? But we can't tell them they are logically inconsistent. But
So
if someone does care about individuals with emotions, with capacity of suffering, and then they go around and abuse animals, then we can go to them and say, "Hey, man, what you're doing is you're a moral hypocrite, and you're contradicting your own values. You see, there's a way in to that person that we can address that."
yeah, I'm completely stuck here because I don't think that it's moral to be so consistent with your logic that you throw away humans in favor of animals that don't meet certain requirements. I don't know how to justify that position, except that I value humans over everything else. It's just that for me, that does not seem moral, even though you are consistent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Even if they are consistent, but we can't really point out their logical inconsistency, there is no debate to be had. Essentially, it's what I'm saying. But if they would contradict themselves, then there is a debate to be had, and we can convince them to act according to their own values.
And to you, there's no inherent value to human life.
In You asked me for my subjective opinion.
Yes, for you personally, there's no
Yeah, I
inherent
think
value to
though
humans.
everyone who values their own life has inherent value,
Everyone, not humans above others.
not as a blanket statement, which you would, by the way, agree with, as you've said with the you wouldn't save Hitler. So you also wouldn't say that as a blanket statement.
Yeah, of course, but then that's another discussion, right? Which
But
is humans can lose their value, I guess.
yeah, we agree on that.
Okay. Um, the man, I just feel like it's a slippery slope, man. The moment you decide that certain humans have less value than animals when they haven't committed no morally repulsive actions, such as Hitler, for example, I feel like it's a slippery slope, man. From that point on, any human that has a lower lifespan than a cow, for example, and less consciousness than a cow, right? You would be in favor of letting it die to make sure that they don't eat any meat or something. I don't know. That feels a bit weird.
Yeah, but the inverse is true for you. Like the slippery slope, we already live in the slippery slope. Look what happens. 3 trillion animals, it's right now, I think, get slaughtered every year for unnecessary reasons, more or less. So, yeah,
Yeah, but
it
okay,
can't get
so
much
I
worse
don't.
than this.
It's not about slaughter. It's about exploitation, right? Because number of deaths doesn't matter.
It's suffering essentially.
Okay.
Like
I think.
it's a lot of suffering. You would never, even if all the humans in this world started to suffer, it's probably would be less suffering than all that animal suffering, right? That happens right now.
And you would be okay with that to sacrifice the whole humanity for animals.
That's not what I said.
I'm sorry, then I don't want to misinterpret. Can you say it again, please?
I answered to your question. Can you say restate your question?
Uh, I just heard you say something about like even
Uh,
if you would let all humans suffer and die, let's say, there will be less suffering than the one that we are imposing to the animals. Is that a moral thing?
no, because you would violate all those rights of those humans' rights. If you now kill all humans to save the animals or something like this.
No,
And
no, no,
also, I
not
wouldn't
not
even know if this would decrease the overall suffering.
not kill. Just they would sacrifice themselves. They would starve.
If I would let that happen, what do you mean?
If
Like
if you
if they choose to
if
starve,
you
then that's their own decision.
if you can convince the people that that's the moral thing to do, would you do it? I guess that's my question.
I'm not sure. I would have to think about the endowments of this more. Like if it would lead to a like let's say if I knew that it would lead to much less suffering, essentially down the line, then I would probably convince humanity to not have children anymore and just die out. Yes.
Do you consider a natural suffering like that, what the animals do to each other and what nature does to animals as part of that equation?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so with this, okay, wait, okay, last question and then we go. I don't want to keep you anymore. Um, would you consider a sterile world because it has less suffering to be better than what we have right now?
What do you mean as sterile?
Like if all animals would disappear at the snap of a finger, no
No
suffering, no
life,
nothing.
basically no life exists,
Yes,
and no life will ever exist.
yes. Would that be better because there's less suffering?
Well, there's also less well-being.
Yes.
But if you continue, I mean, the goal would be to solve this equation and fix the suffering and have more well-being. But right now, if we can't fix that, then probably yes.
Cool. Now I know your position, and I will try to argue against it a little bit better, since right now I couldn't give you any specific either sources for the previous argument or arguments for this the trait. I'll be honest, it's such a big barrier to me. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it, but I will definitely think about it. I can't thank you enough for showing me your position.
Yeah, thank you, do for the conversation, and good luck with finding those numbers and the traits.
Anything else you'd like to ask, or
No, thanks.
yeah? Thank you very much, Benjamin. I'll be in touch. Okay.
All right, take care, man.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Peace.